Hey folks, what's going on? Alan here in Cartagena, Colombia. It is my last day of travel. I wanted to reshoot my intro that I had recorded on how to make your 2024 year be a great one instead of just a good one. And that's going to be following the life lesson tips from a business book actually called Good to Great from Jim Collins. And so this is what this video is going to cover is the top three main factors that I found from that book after I have read it for a month, been studying it, and even using Chat GPT to come up with summaries. We are going to be deep diving into three of the main factors, and let's get into it right now. So folks, if you're new to this channel, I run Blend Logic Tech, but I have this other personal channel where I'm growing self-development. If you're into being a life learner, consider leaving comments below or checking out some of my other videos. Be sure to subscribe if this is the type of content you've been looking for. I'm primarily going to be covering books and thoughts of self-improvement, lifetime learning, and implementing technology to help streamline your life and increase your health, wealth, and happiness. So, one of the first things I want to cover is, you know, why listen to the teachings of Jim Collins. One of the major things or questions that I asked myself in life is, I know a certain amount of successful people in my social circle who have, done startups, entered and exited, made millions of dollars, and then I also have like my muses in terms of athletes I follow, like Steph Curry, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant. And so, if you could do this exercise with me and think of someone in your social circle like uh who's the most successful person in your immediate circle, and then also contrast that with your ideas and beliefs of who is your most maybe not in your social circle, but maybe a business person or you follow someone online, a social media influencer, could even be an athlete. Recently I just saw Steph Curry front row seat. He ended up giving his jersey to Lindsay Lohan, but I'll use Steph Curry as an example. It's like what separates him from the other successful NBA players, and using that as that mental exercise is, I think, a lot of times comes down to what you could pick up from this business book, surprisingly. So taking a step away from personal development books and into business books, there were three things that Jim Collins mentioned that separates the $1 million businesses from the S&P 20 like $1 billion businesses. So I'm going to go through those topics in this YouTube video, and we're going to start from the top and let's get right into that list. All right, guys. So the things I'm going to cover, I've discovered an awesome tool, a MacBook, besides PowerPoint, to make these animated things. So hopefully in post, you're seeing these cool things. We're going to be talking about confronting the brutal facts. Jim Collins saying that most top businesses, they list out all the positives, but then also list out all the negatives they have to look into. So we'll go into that. The second thing I'm going to cover is Sonic the Hedgehog, the Hedgehog concept, in which Jim Collins states that for your personal life or even for these businesses, if you implement these practices of doing the hedgehog concept, you can take your life to the next level, which is hopefully being here, going to great. Lastly, as I mentioned, I ran Blend Logic Tech. A lot of things I do there is reviewing laptop reviews. In this channel, I'm going to be talking about how you can use those laptops, those tools to accelerate, your perception and your life to have the greatness that you guys deserve. And really, it takes some work to get it, but like everyone has a shot at having a great life. You may say you deserve a great life, but what I want to say is you got to work for it, and technology can help you accelerate in getting that great life faster than others. All right, folks, so I wanted to just take the iPhone camera out because it's recording on MacBook. I'm using continuity camera. Pretty cool thing. One last thing I want to say, shout out to Brian, who's been taking care of me here in Cartagena. But yeah, as you guys can see, beautiful day in Cartagena. I'm going to go over those three facts, but just wanted to let you guys take in and see some of the sites that I'm seeing, because I think part of growing a personal channel, growing a brand, is at least show, for some reason, the way social humans work as social creatures, you have to show some authority bias. Um, Whether this becomes a travel channel or just like a travel self-improvement life learning channel, just wanted to put that out there that here in Cartagena, it's great for digital nomads. And you know, you could read and make YouTube videos anywhere. I've recorded the first intro. It's literally on this MacBook right now. The first intro was recorded in my hometown. But you know, you just got to get comfortable speaking to the camera, speaking with your voice. And just a little side bit before we get into the first chapter or the first part, which is confronting the brutal facts. So just wanted to leave that and as like a little, not even like a sponsored segment. It's literally sponsored by myself. Like why, a little bit about me. So yeah, be sure to check out my Instagram as well, and let's get right into the first section. Back in Atlanta with that short Cartagena introduction, but here in the channel, most of my content will be made in America, and I'm currently at home base Atlanta. So primarily the reason for making this content was in my last video I uploaded was 2023 goals, and now we're in 2024, almost in the last, it is March 1 actually, the last month of the first quarter. And I wanted to make this content as a reminder for myself and for people who are lifelong learners that you can continually improve, and every day is a day to change. So as you read more books, watch more self-improvement videos, you can take the life of where you're wanting to be on a good trajectory and make it turn into a great trajectory. So let's get into this awesome keynote presentation I made that has better transitions than PowerPoint. Like I mentioned, there's three main concepts that I wanted to cover in the book. They are going to be confront the brutal facts, Hedgehog Concept, and technology accelerators. So one of the first topics we're talking about is confront the brutal facts. George Rathman became the CEO of Amgen after leading Abbott Company or some other pharmaceutical company. And one of the things he took from that company is the rigor of reviewing your year. He particularly focused on that you should, you know, maybe take 15 minutes on a call if you're in your yearly review to review the great things you've done in the year, but then also really focus on the negative things that you need to stop doing. And that was a major theme I saw in this book, you know, reading the quote. You know, it's not exactly how much you have done that's been great, but in the beginning of each year or whatever your, you know, quote unquote sprint cycles are, you say, I wanted to accomplish this, and did I do what I wanted to accomplish? So there's a big parallel between keeping in your mind, you know, taking easy wins, but then also saying, hey, I set a goal for myself, and am I accomplishing the goals that I want to? Another theme in kind of this section of the book is talking about having great faith towards accomplishing your goal. In this, they talk about the Stockdale paradox, in which a story of some prisoners who always maintained faith that they would be rescued. I'm very over glancing the importance of this particular section of the book, but it is very important. So if you do end up picking up this book yourself, which I highly recommend, you could check out some of my Amazon links if you are curious in purchasing it, and I get a little affiliate sales from that. So a little self plug to my affiliate Amazon links. So with everything about talking about what I like to do in this channel, is I always like to combine them and give everyone practical advice. So what these three tips on this subject is to acknowledge the reality that you're in, set measurable goals, and also embrace feedback. What that actually means in a practical standpoint is that, you know, in your life right now, if you start measuring what the good is versus what the bad is, you have to acknowledge that you have good things going for you, but you also have bad things going for you. If I take a line from one of the books of The One Thing, it mentions that you can focus on a particular thing, which actually coincides with the next section of this video. But that once you focus on the good and then you reduce the bad, you can, if you're going to take one thing from this video, it's that piece of advice. If you can't increase the amount of good things you're doing, then at least reduce the amount of bad things you're doing in your life. Second, there's always the talk about setting goals and measurable goals. I would say that when you are setting measurable goals, Google likes to do moon shooting, in which they say, hey, if you set a 10x goal, you practically will probably get a 2.2x improvement. So I always think it's great to set lofty stretch goals, but then also have goals that you can knock out and get those small wins and that dopamine. Lastly, the last piece of advice is in embracing feedback. I think it's important to have a great counsel and social circle of people who are wanting to improve their life and be on the same trajectory as you, if you can't compare yourself to people that are perhaps better than you or lower than you, it's hard to measure and get that social feedback, because I believe a lot of people's actions and motivations come from the social circle they're around. So if you're hanging out with a bunch of people who are doing startups and you're don't even have a job, there could be that gap in social pressure to be like, hey, I need to at least do something and start taking action in my life. One thing I want to bring up for setting measurable goals, there's a great video that Casey Neistat just made on his quote unquote impossible dream, where he wanted to run a marathon in under 2 hours. And so I highly recommend, I'll leave a link also to this on the comment section below. But if you are wanting to get inspired, check out this video. So going to the Hedgehog Concept, one of the things that this is going to be talking about is, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog. But really from the book, the main factors, it says, what can you be best in the world at? What can you, can't even speak. What are you deeply passionate about? And lastly, what drives your economic engine? And if you could focus on these 3 things and focus on that in your Hedgehog Concept and only do that in your life, you will become Sonic the Hedgehog. Jokes aside, I really think it's actually fits into that analogy, is that wherever you are, whether you're an intrapreneur or entrepreneur, you got to try to be the best at your craft at one particular thing. And that's technically all you really need to go in life. So a lot of my stuff I make on this content, I'm just getting started on, making these types of contents and self-improvement from a practical standpoint. But let's say in my day-to-day job, a lot of my career has actually just been in data governance, organizational change management. I've kind of moved away from a jack of all trades to just focus on how I can get better at delivery and influencing people. And here we are, making some content for YouTube and also having a full-time job. So I wanted to actually dive deeper into this Sonic the Hedgehog analogy. If you have played Sega Genesis games like I did growing up, Sonic 1, 2, and 3, I started off with Sonic 2 and then Sonic 3. There's literally only one thing you can do in the Genesis controller. You have A, B, C, X, Y, Z if you had the advanced controllers, but literally every button does one thing. And what does Sonic do? He jumps. Now, of course, they later added on after Sonic the Hedgehog in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the down dash, and then there's always items. But the analogy here hopefully sticks and lands is that, if you can focus on the one thing, you could become, Sonic, or, however you translate that into your life. Then you could also argue that perhaps his one thing is also running, but I mean, really, the only actionable item that Sonic does is turning into a ball and jumping. So in Good to Great, we confronted the brutal facts. We have learned about the Hedgehog Concept. The last thing I want to talk about are the technology accelerators that will hopefully get you the life you're looking for faster, right? We want to go from a good life to a great life, a good year to a great year. And so pretty much what I use is my technology accelerators is Notion combined with an agile methodology, and then using Chat GPT to get some feedback loop, and of course, friends and family. But yeah, I did want to go into some of the concepts of Notion and Agile. Is that, I'll go over mine, but pretty much what I do if you have not heard of this concept, it's the, software development software development life cycle. And you essentially have a product backlog, you have sprint plans and reviews, and then you do some work for 2 weeks or however long your sprints want to be. I recommend a short time cycle of 2 weeks, and you just review and plan for the next 2 weeks of your life. As I mentioned earlier, a great quote is that you need to make a stop doing list. So this is what I'll showcase soon in my Notion, is that, let's just get right into it actually. So as I mentioned, getting into the Notion calendar, I've created like a Scrum Agile life for myself where I'm continually improving this, but essentially I have stand-ups in the morning where I plan out my day. And then these are my work sprint, my committed sprint plannings over the 2 weeks of exactly what I wanted to work on over the next 2 weeks. Now I do have a life product backlog, which is essentially, this is the product I've developed. The product I'm delivering is myself. So what I want to accomplish in my life, that includes these health, relationship, career fulfillment goals that I actually just changed to be these ones. So there's some updating to the methodology I need to do. But as you can see, I'm trying to have a general, in my however long I live, my life product backlog of things I want to accomplish from a macro scale, and then down into this micro scale of what do I want to do in the next 2 weeks. And so that's how I've been running it. And I've just started doing this because actually in my career, I'm going to go for a professional Scrum Master. So if you're just taking this as self-development advice, I recommend like trying this out. But also if you're thinking about this from a career perspective or in consulting, you could get, Scrum or Safe Agile certified. And I'm going for that professional Scrum Master and also the, Safe Agile certified person who could help companies develop this methodology to deliver pretty much anything they want to deliver. AI is basically the go-to things of what people are talking about nowadays, but Notion itself does have AI. There is also ChatGPT, which you could use for getting ideas or bouncing ideas off ChatGPT. And then there is this software that does video AI reviews that I want to get into. So let's dive into that right now. I'm going to bring up Notion. And finally, the last slide of this is to subscribe if you want to see more of this life learner content. But let's dive into ChatGPT. So one of the aspects I did in ChatGPT is if you pay for it for $20 a month, you can upload presentations, any documents. It can read the text and give you suggestions of what to do. In my particular job function right now, I'm head of a marketing domain internal project, and I'm helping drive a 3-day course on marketing. So it's pretty cool that, some of the stuff that I left consulting to try to do with Blend Logic comes back full circle in that, now I'm, instead of doing it at the scale of basketball trainers and sports people, I've gone back to, billion-dollar businesses, S&P 500 companies, and helping them with their marketing strategy. But let's take a look at one of the things I asked it was actually doing this particular ChatGPT or this particular video. Where is it? I like that it keeps it in your browser. So these are all the chats that I've had before. I literally asked it how to split a bill and stuff of that nature. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so I finally found it and I edited it to be good to great video. I literally had a script that I had in Notion. I could show that here. I have my content creation wish list and each thing that I have ideas of how to make. I try to write and do some research about what are the value topics I want to get you guys with? What do I want to actually deliver? I of course search SEO, so hopefully this gets some traction. But I basically provided a whole paragraph of text to ChatGPT and then retweaked what I wanted to say. So you can see here's the ChatGPT script that I put in Notion. But before it was just like brainstorming sessions. I copy and pasted it in, said, hey, this is what I'm thinking about making content on. And then can you write a YouTube transcript on it? So that is how, cool ways of practical advice of how ChatGPT could help you out. You could also put in, some of your life goals and say, hey, what do you, ask ChatGPT, what do you think of these goals that I'm setting? What do you think of these 2-week sprints? Really, the world is your oyster with ChatGPT. So one of the last things I want to point out is I got this from AppSumo for a free lifetime review. One of the things you could actually do is in your personal YouTube channel or any video really, you could connect to a AI script and it could review the transcript and then you could ask questions on it. So this is my 2023 video of what I was looking to do, or actually this one was my MacBook Air video. I believe I did make a video on my 2023 goals. Yep, here it is, where we talk about, I was literally sitting, you can see right here, that was me a year ago sitting in the same exact spot, saying, hey, this is what I wanted to do. And then you could ask it to, come up with summaries, write some content for you, stuff of that nature. So this is a thing that I'm still testing out. I don't have any like affiliate link or anything, but if it's still available on AppSumo, you could check it out. I recommend, doing whatever you can to find ways to, technologies and accelerators. So if you can find specific apps like ChatGPT or things that are running off some kind of AI engine, this thing could give you chapters, tweets, question and answers. What are the main areas that he wanted to talk about? Last year in 2023, I said physical health, mental health, financial goals, and relationships. It's still pretty much the same, but now tracked in Notion. So yeah, that is a cool thing that this thing does, and I'll be using it for future, reviews of my content. Essentially, what I plan to do with this is every video I make, I'll do an AI transcript of it. It could create tweets, question answers, blogs, etc. And then from there, I'll also see if I was able to deliver on the main points of value that I wanted to talk about from my, my scripting. So in the end, everyone, those are three factors of that I think everyone should pay attention to when you read this book. I also recommend you read it yourself, but be sure to leave some comments below if any of this has been helpful. And if you are looking for following someone perhaps on the same path as you of being a lifetime learning and sharing the results, this is what this channel is going to be about, along with some other things of some slight travel and stuff of that nature to spice it up. But I know that with the algorithm, you do kind of get niched down, and this is one particular niche that I think has benefits for all parties involved. I read books, I try to implement them, and I get some satisfaction in sharing and helping the contents of that book with you, the listener of YouTube. So I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.